Hey guys, it's New Year's Day 2017, and I'm going to do a kind of a flea market finds. It's more of a just tool buy type of video. I've got just a few items from the tool store, the used tool store, and I'm going to bang those out real quick because I got to get into this estate sale that I attended. I got some really good deals there. I missed a couple of good deals. But for the most part, I'm very happy with what I ended up purchasing that day. It ended up being a great day, even though I had to stand out in the freezing cold for quite a while to make sure that I was the first person in the door when they opened in the morning. But it was worth it. And the guy who was right behind me wanted one of the items that I had come for, so I beat him out on one item, and he ended up taking an item that I passed on. Uh, so I'll just talk about that real quick. There were really only two items in that sale that I wish I had gotten. One of them I could have had because I knew it was there, I knew right where it was, and I could have gone for it right off the bat. But I went for a couple other key items right off the bat. And the other reason I didn't go for that item right off the bat was because there was an asking price of 150 bucks on it. And what it was it was not one, but two Travadiles in excellent condition, mounted on a very funky kind of bracket, a black bracket that I was later told was a bracket for mounting the Travadiles to a Bridgeport. So instead of a DRO, you could have a couple of Travadiles on your Bridgeport mounted on this special bracket, and essentially, use Travadiles instead of DRO. So I thought about it and was like, well, I wouldn't want to do that. First of all, I don't know whether or not I could adapt it to work on the Wells Index mill, even though the Wells Index mill is a knee mill. Secondly, I still want to go with a DRO at some point on the Wells Index. So the reality is, if I had bought those two Travadiles, I probably would be eBaying them anyways. Now, that being said, Travadiles are kind of ridiculously expensive. So, you know, tying up 150 with the prospect of making money down the road, which I talked to the guy who ended up buying it, and he was clearly there as a reseller. And he told me that he had some guy that he could ship these things to, that he already knew the guy would give him 200 bucks a piece for these Travadiles, and that he goes through them, completely rebuilds them, and sells them for even more. And so he figured that, he was going to make. I heard him trying to get a deal on them and get the person who was running the sale down lower, but she didn't really want to budge too much off the prices on the first day. It was a Friday, Saturday sale. So on the Friday sale, majority of regular working people are at work. Okay? Unless you did like I did and made sure you made time to go there. So what ended up happening in that situation is the majority of the people that come on a Friday tend to be pickers, resellers, dealers, that kind of thing. And so if they're honing in on something, the people running the sale are wise enough to know that they're probably got a pretty good deal on their hands there. They're not going to be as anxious first thing in the morning to deal on stuff. Matter of fact, the first couple items I bought, I just walked over and looked at the price and said, I want them. That's it. Didn't even bother bickering. And then actually what ended up happening was we marked them as sold, and as the day went on, I continued to stay there and continued to pick through and add things, put things together, and so that when it came down to my time to cash out, so to speak, I was able to actually still broker a little bit of a discount just for the volume that I bought. So the Travadiles, not too worried about the item that I missed that I really regret was a beautiful set of. There was a box, and there was some fishing items upstairs in the house that were all put together. Downstairs in the basement, where all the machine shop stuff was, there was a box, and it was for a deep sea fishing reel by Penn. That's not what was in the box, and that box was tucked in on a shelf, so I never saw it. And when I was behind somebody in line cashing out. He had a whole bunch of machinist items, and I spotted the box, and I said to him, I said, if you don't mind me asking, what's in that box? And he opened it up to show me because he was quite proud of his find. It was a pair of Taft Pierce V-blocks. Probably about, I'd say they were maybe like 4" by 3" or 3 by 3 by 4s. You know, good sized V-blocks. There was a pair of them with the little brackets, the little hold down brackets and the hardware and everything, all in this little, tucked away in this little box. They looked mint, and the price on them was $25. So the most he paid was $25, and he may have even got them for $20. So that was a really good deal. Now these would have probably been later generation Taft Pierce, so probably, you know, post the Suburban Tool buyout, as opposed to my Taft Pierce V-blocks, which those of you who watch all of my videos a while back, you saw that I got a big pair, like 8" cast iron precision ground Taft Pierce V-blocks with the original hold downs. Those, I think, might even go back as far as when Taft Pierce was actually producing right in Rhode Island, manufacturing there. All right, so those are the 2 items I missed. So let's see, we're going to bang out just as few items at the tool store, and then we're going to dive right into the estate sale. So a few weeks back, I watched the weekly video that the used tool store puts out, and he mentioned this little cabinet right here, and that he was going to sell it for $15. And in the video, I couldn't really get a good look at it, but it looked promising to me. So when I got there early enough that when I walked in, I was able to snag it right off the bat. So for $15, I got this little cabinet, but it's kind of a funky little deal going on here. It's actually some pretty nice metal drawers with decent sliders on them. Okay. It sure as heck looks like it was part of maybe a drill index at some point. And this actually does slide in and out correctly, but what's going on here is there's some screws in the bottom. I'll show you in a second. See these screws here? I don't know how this was rigged up. What we've got is we've got the drawers and the side pieces, and then it looks like he made a plywood top and bottom and bolted the heck out of this thing, bolted it all together. He's got angle brackets on the top here. It's just a funky thing. I haven't even figured out yet what I'm going to do with this thing, but it basically screams hang me from something, like maybe hang me down underneath one of my workbenches or something like that. So yeah, kind of a sucker for the cabinets, and just figured I'll be able to use this at some point on something. So, you know, $15 is not going to hurt to have it here. So that cabinet was the only thing I bought at the tool store that day, and then another day I went back and didn't really find anything of interest, but I picked through the big center table. It always has a bunch of junk in it, and depending on what week you go there, he fluctuates that price. So items might be, you know, $1 a piece or whatever, or sometimes as low as 25 cents a piece. And I think it was 50 cents a piece the day that I was there. And I picked through, and I had come across this wrench, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh, that's, you know, a polished finish on there. And then I was like, oh, CRV, that's chrome vanadium. But it's Pittsburgh. Well, that's the Harbor Freight brand. It's a metric. And first I threw it back down, and then I kept finding more, and then I realized, you know, for 50 cents a piece, these actually are pretty decent wrenches. So I weeded through and I found. So I got a 19 millimeter, a 17 millimeter, a 13 millimeter, and a 14 millimeter. And there were some really small ones too, but I didn't really need those sizes. I figured didn't really need these sizes, I don't think. But you know, for 50 cents a piece, I grabbed these 4 wrenches. A lot of people don't realize it now, that these Pittsburgh tools that are dirt cheap through Harbor Freight, that they now have a lifetime replacement warranty on these. So, just a steel piece of shaft. It's got a keyway cut in it, so I don't know what it started its life out as originally, but you know, I don't know why I grabbed this, but for 50 cents, at some point I might need something, and it's a long enough piece of stock that I can chuck it in the chuck and still turn something out of it. Huh. This is kind of funny. This is a thread gauge, but not just any thread gauge. So this is a thread gauge for a 1-8NC. So it's a 1-inch coarse thread, 8 threads per inch, left-hand thread. And this is a no-go gauge. It's marked qualified. So pretty pretty unique gauge, and I can't imagine I'm ever going to need it. So I'm going to probably throw this up on eBay and see what it brings. Some of these are quite expensive. So this, I think, is actually can be adjusted to be calibrated almost. And then I think what they do is they pour wax in here to like seal it and, you know, let you know that that's been set and shouldn't be reset again unless it has to be. Yeah, there's a screw in here. What they do is they drill these 2 relief holes and slots, and when they adjust that screw, they can open and close this up and down just a little tiny bit to change it. So it's interesting. For 50 cents, it took a chance on that, and I don't know. Wouldn't be surprised if I get 20 bucks for this thing. And the last item at 50 cents a piece was these plastic tubs right here. These trays. They're heavy duty, pretty, you know, strong plastic. And I got 3 of them for 50 cents a piece. These are labeled GRE tag, GRE tag imaging. So not sure what the heck, where these came from. But I like them just because if I've got stuff that I want to put on one of the metal open shelves, it just kind of keeps it from rolling around, especially if it's like smaller stuff. Some of you guys who know lathe accessories and machine tools and things like that may have already had a good guess as to what this might be in this box that I scooped for such a deal. Do more. Precision tools and grinders. Yep. This is a number 5 Do More. It says the Master. Oh, the Master. Wow. Yep. It's a tool post grinder for on a lathe, so you can do grinding on your lathe. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the price that they had on this puppy. 35 bucks. You know, depending on which model it is, the size that it is, how many accessories are missing or there. You know, you can see these sometimes trade on eBay easily. You could put a 0 on that 35. So let's see if we can't see what's in the box, shall we? I think this mess right here is actually supposed to be a belt. That's probably for mounting it to the tool post. I don't know. Anybody know what that piece is for? Alright, I'm sure that doesn't belong in there. There's a few wrenches in here. They're old ones, that's for sure. This is an Armstrong wrench, marked 829D, 5/8 and 3/4. This is a Witten machine, marked 1554, and it's been ground to modify it. And this is a wrench for a little square head bolt. This looks like an Armstrong 583. So I think this guy just had these wrenches in there because he had, you know, use for them when he was using this, whoever it was. There's a little bit of key stock in here. There's a few grinding wheels. There's a couple little pieces here and there. I don't know, I'd say this is probably far from complete. That little fitting there, I wonder what that goes to. The pulley on this end is rubbing this shroud, so something's not kosher there. Now I know based on my other do more tool post grinder setup that I have that typically these came with more than one pulley, so you could change pulley size to get different speeds. So that's what makes me think that maybe this is not complete, to say the least. Full load RPM is 10,000, no load RPM is 15,500. It's a half horsepower. This is a model number 810-210. Serial number 21352. Okay, this goes on to explain the different speeds, the different diameters, just like my other one. And it looks like we're looking at combinations of pulleys here. Number 1, number 2, and number 3, and number 4 are the pulley numbers. So there should be 4 pulleys in this set. There's 2 on there. There should be 2 more, and I didn't see them. The way the pulleys are constructed, I believe they have a slight crown to them to help keep the belt tracking correctly. So I don't see any other pulleys in there anywhere. This is, I don't have any idea what this is. It does look like this diameter right here would fit right over the spindle here, though. Alright, the good news is the spindle spins freely and actually sounds pretty good. The bad news is the motor sounds horrible. So before I even try and fire it up, I'm going to try and put some oil in these caps and these oil ports and see whether or not that helps any. Just move the camera a little bit closer so you can hear it. Well, let's try and run it. It still sounds like garbage to me. That's quite the hinky wiring job we got there. Yeah. That doesn't sound good. I just went and grabbed my other tool pulse grinder. Just want to see what this one sounds like. I don't remember. Okay, this one's a catalog number 40-011. It's smaller, clearly. This one doesn't have the guard that goes over here, but I actually don't see a way for the guard to mount, at least not the way the guard's mounted on this one.
So if there was a guard on here, it probably clamped to this area, maybe over here or something. So this isn't going to be exactly a fair comparison because this one has the belt on it, so the noise that's going to be coming out of this one's going to be the noise of the motor and the spindle. Like I said, the noise of the motor and the spindle. Oh no, wait a minute, this worked. Trying to get an idea what it sounds like without the vibration from the workbench. Let's just pop this. There's no noise whatsoever. Barely any noise when I spin this by hand. Yeah, so I don't really think we need to go any further to know that the bearings in that motor on the one I got for 35 bucks. Well, at the risk of having this crappy belt fly off or snap and go whipping across the room, I do want to see if I can get this spindle to spin. Really no bad noises out of the spindle whatsoever. No increase to that horrible noise when I have the spindle hooked up with the belt. So that's good. So really it's just a matter of the motor itself. And quite frankly, I bet you that thing's been making horrible noises for a while and somebody just kept right along using it. Yeah, part of me is tempted to remove this cap right here and take a look at what this thing's using for bearings in there and, you know, think about actually replacing them. But the reality is I got too much more stuff to look at right now, so I don't want to get sidetracked. So I'm just going to put this thing away the way it is. Here's a kind of a look. You know, it's funny when the grinders are side by side, they look very similar in size, but you know, the box, the master grinder, the number 5, is quite a bit larger.